Yes, everyone, welcome back to the channel. How's it going? Stephen Howson back here in sunny old England, getting absolutely drenched. How's everybody doing? Have you had a good weekend? I guess Manchester United didn't ruin it for once, did they? And we've got a game tomorrow. End of the season, everyone. I'm not doing a preview. How about that? I'm not doing a preview for it. Probably going to watch it and I'll do a review of it. I'm not doing a preview of it. What's the point? Here's what I want. I want to see the likes of Morehouse and Kokonki, and I want to see all of them boys given an opportunity. That's what I'm wanting. So hopefully that's what we see. We will see that tomorrow, I'm sure. And then there's another one on Friday. And then the season is officially over for literally like a month. And then they're all back in training, and then we're off over to America and all that lot. For those asking, I am going to America. I think Adam booked our flights back in the last week because he was asking me about my Esther. So I assume that was happening. Stand by for that. Did we vlog Switzerland? We vlogged one of the days in Switzerland. Yeah, we hiked out to a lake. Honestly, the place is like someone's gone bananas with AI in terms of the visuals. It's sensational. Spendy old gaff though, but yes. G'day from Perth. G'day. Do I think Cobby leaves this summer? I'd be surprised at Cobby leaving, but he is a sellable asset, so you have to consider it as a potential thing that could happen. Why is the tour so early? I mean, well, technically the tour's a little bit later than it has been in previous years. Normally we're back home around about the start of August, like the first or second day of August. This time we're not getting back till the 5th of August, so it's technically a little bit later. It's one of them, I guess. Ari says, sell Højlund, get Delap and another striker, Jonathan David or somebody else. I haven't seen Jonathan David linked with anywhere. Has anyone else? Have any of you lot seen him? Ibiana says, I guess we're getting IRL content. Yes, you are getting IRL content. Pat says, Jonathan David seems like a no-brainer. Any idea why he's not fancied? Don't know. Maybe they've spoke to him and decided it's not him. Maybe he's spoke to us and decided we're not it for him. I guess there's a load of different things that could be the case, isn't it? I Am Titanium says, I hear Ronaldo wants to join a Club World Cup team. I was chatting to Elliot yesterday, who works for us, and I was saying I think I might cover some of the Club World Cup stuff just for something to do almost while the season's over and for content, because I do have some opinions on it. I, like most of you, think it's probably going to end up a relatively big thing, partially because I mean, I don't know if everyone was aware of this. There is $1 billion prize fund for the Club World Cup, and I think the winner gets 100 million. That alone makes it a big deal. And clubs will be like, wait, what? That alone is going to make that huge. So I am debating doing a video on it. I think it's massively corrupt, but it is FIFA, so of course it is. But I am likely going to be doing that. T-Mill says, we need to go turbo in this window, Steve, no excuses. I completely agree with you, mate. Daniel Farr says, David linked to Napoli, but that's it. Interesting. How are we linked with Delap for 30 and Gyökeres is like 55? Well, that's release fees on both of them. And that's the simple top and bottom answer of it. And also, Gyökeres is probably the hottest available striker in Europe at the moment. He's going to go wherever he wants, rather than he's not going to just take where it comes. Any pre-season plans for Paddock FC? Yeah, pain. I have put some dates in mind. Now, a little bit of a cat out of a bag here. We are going to be staying at Hyde for the foreseeable future. I'm hoping for years and years. We play well on that pitch. We like that pitch. And we had a meeting with Hyde before I went away, where we talked about how we can work together better as two clubs, and work together. We are ground sharing. How do we... how can we help them with the social media side of stuff, and what more can they do with us? It was a great meeting, to be honest. It was really good. So we are going to be staying at Hyde for the foreseeable future. I did ask for 5 years, and it was kind of, without it being put down in paper, it was like, yeah, fine. So our pre-season games, normally I play away because Paddock FC, despite the fact that we sell a lot of shirts and despite the fact that we have our membership, which gives us a hell of a backing, the cost of facilities when you don't own your own facilities are prohibitive, and we run to the bone as a club. So I always try and get our pre-season games away. This season, because of the deal that we've got with Hyde, what we're going to do is going to do double headers with Hyde. So we are going to be playing at 5 o'clock, I think, for our pre-season matches, with Hyde kicking off at 3 o'clock. So we can, have the sets of fans from both kind of mingling in a little bit, which I think is a pretty decent idea. Outside of that, pre-season training starts on the 24th of June for us, which is earlier than the Premier League clubs, but also our league is probably going to start on the 26th of July, so it's only 4 weeks, and it needs doing. We will be holding a trial on the 22nd of June, and then pre-season training starts on the 24th. I think there's going to be 3 sessions a week for the lads. Tuesday will be tactical stuff. Wednesday is going to be at Turnmoss, sweating their bollocks off and running their bollocks off. We're going to be doing like a bit of a high Roxy kind of session, and I'll be doing it with them. So I don't want to hear any complaining because I'm 41 years of age and I was fat as fuck 12 months ago. So if I can get fit in 12 months, they have got no excuses. And if they're behind me, they'll be doing extras. So that's the game. And then Thursdays will be a little bit more team shape stuff. But I'm hoping for, we've had a fucking amazing club. And big shout out to the under-12s. Our under-12s won their 3rd trophy on Saturday. Won a treble. They've been incredible. The boys and girls in that team have been sensational. So we've had our 12s have won everything. Our 16s have won everything. And our Resis were in a cup final and got promoted, and the first team got promoted. It's been a brilliant season. And there is some other good news as well, which I haven't shared publicly yet, but I'll probably share this week. But if you are a member, you probably know what it is, and it passed. What's the new league? We are in Cheshire League 1. Ross Howard, who's he? Tweeting contacts have started between United and Mbeumo. Larry David says, Steve, sent you an email, haven't heard back. If that's from the people that have emailed me after me saying if you want to get involved, to members, I got 40, 50 emails, and I will give them the time that they deserve. I'm not just going to reply back saying cool. As you've been aware, I've been away, so I've not had a chance to go and look at those yet, but I will. I'll get back to all of those before the start of the season. Stargard says, do I know I ever heard about Mika Biereth as a potential striker option? Plays at Monaco, 16 games, 13 goals, 2 assists. No, I don't. I can have a look at that, though. Ari says, since Amorim wants a slimmed down squad, it's a good opportunity to get rid of a lot of the deadwood, replacing them with a few high quality players. Hoping for some who the hell is this that turn out good. Yeah, same. I'm hoping for a few who the hell are these guys that turn out mega. Mike says, scrambling around the basement for players you think will get you close to the top 5. It was incredible forms of delusion. Not really. If you look at where Liverpool signed all of theirs from, they signed... Look at the players who transformed them. Alisson aside, Alisson was playing Champions League football and doing well when he was signed from Roma. But, and a big part of that. Mo Salah had been in the Prem and had been a bit of a cast-off and a little bit underwhelming. Virgil van Dijk had been a good performer in a Southampton team that had outperformed. So Southampton, same as Mane, Southampton. Robertson got fucking relegated. Like, that team was transformed on the back of players that had, they spent a lot of money on Van Dijk and Alisson, but that was players that had been playing in the Premier League, for the most, Alisson aside. And whether or not they were individually successful or their team was not, it was irrelevant because they were the right fit and the right players. So, I hate this. Roy Keane got relegated and United spent a British record transfer fee on him, and he was world class from the moment we got him. Like, you have to open your eyes. Just because of the badge on somebody's shirt isn't the one that you want, doesn't mean that the lad wearing that shirt isn't the player that you want. You have to look at the attributes of what that player brings and the character that he brings behind the scenes. These are the most important things. Simple. Rai says Mbeumo gives me Mane vibes. You know what? I actually have notes and I've just not read them. Let me get me notes. So the notes, it starts with Garnacho. He's been offered to Arsenal by his representatives. That would be an interesting one. Arsenal as well as Chelsea. That would push the price up significantly, I think. Everything obviously is pointing to a Garnacho exit. Where he goes, though, nobody knows. So we'll have to see. The next bit of news was, according to ESPN, United have agreed the financial framework of a deal for Liam Delap, but he is yet to decide on if he wants to come to United. He's got Everton, Newcastle, and I don't know how Chelsea are just in for everyone. How is that still a thing? But supposedly pushing for a move for him as well. He got 12 goals in the Prem. Still on the prospect side rather than proven side. But supposedly United have agreed at least a framework. If he decides that he fancies it, I think that's a very simple and straightforward deal to get done. Delap I'm less excited about as I am about Mbeumo. And the Mbeumo news is the big one really today, isn't it? So Mbeumo has held talks with Manchester United. And again, Newcastle are seemingly interested. And some people think that that could be his most likely destination. Brentford don't feel like they're going to be keeping him. He's only got a year left on his deal, so it's time for them to switch. 20 goals, 7 assists. I think that would be a sensational bit of business, no matter who it was that managed to bring him in, because I think he's a genuinely good player. Now, I will do case for, worry with, proper look at the pros and cons of Mbeumo coming to United. But as I've tried to picture how this might work, I think it'll be Dorgu at left wing back. You presume Cunha as the left side number 10. At the moment, it's going to be Xerxes because it'd be Xerxes. I still think there's a requirement to get that striker in. Could that be Delap? And then where exactly does Mbeumo fit in here? He could fit in as a right wing back, but I think he's the sort of right side number 10. I think he suits that better. I think he's got a lot of characteristics that are similar to Ahmad. He presses well. He does track back defensively. He's got phenomenal work rate. He's little. He comes inside on his left foot. I think he could, in theory, do the left wing back role, but I think the role that you see him doing at Brentford, where he plays off the striker a little bit, I think that's exactly what we're looking for, and I think that's where he'll end up playing. Now, with him being someone that likes to get in beyond, you could actually see Xerxes working. But I still think Xerxes is not going to score those goals for you. So I think United would still need to go and bring in someone who scores goals. Now, Cunha has added some goals. United have literally gone out and bought goals. If you look at the number of goals Tottenham scored, the number of goals Newcastle scored, United are about 20, 22 goals behind those teams. Obviously, Tottenham's got a shit defence, so they ended up down where they were. But Newcastle have just had a 20-goal-a-season striker in their team, and that's the difference between the teams. You get us 20 goals, 30 goals, and actually Manchester United find themselves in the top 7 or 8 at least. Does Mbeumo and Cunha deliver that? I mean, technically they do. But I still want goals from a number 9. I still need goals from a number 9. Mateta, more conventional, more direct, more traditional sort of goal scorer, more physical kind of presence, more of a goal threat, I think, even though technically got less goals than Cunha and Mbeumo. Occupies defenders in a different way, he's aggressive. I think if you went for a Mateta, I think Acuna Mateta, no. Oh, Acuna Mateta, fuck off. Acuna Mateta Mbeumo, front line. Sorry. would be really good. It means no worries. That's what it means. Fucking hell. I think that as a front line actually is a little bit closer to and a front line that could do bits in the Premier League. And then you have your Xerxes and whoever else as your backup. I think that works. Now Delap, I think, is a downgrade on that. But I think that works. Now, like I said, Dorgu, Cunha, Xerxes or Mateta, Mbeumo, Ahmad. Is that good enough? I think it's a strong combination. Tactically sound, technically brilliant, actually. Creativity's there, the speed is there, dynamism's there, the wing backs are good. Worried about the height between Mbeumo and Ahmad, maybe. You've got some goals in there, in that forward line. The athletic floor has been raised with Mbeumo coming in. High intensity, relentless pressing. Speed is a joke. Dorgu, Ahmad, Cunha, Mbeumo, even Mateta or Delap. You've got a very athletic, energetic front line now. You just need that striker that's going to be a little bit more clinical, I think. I think that's the one. Yeah, I think that would be the one. Now, can you get Mbeumo over the line? I think Cunha's been a brilliant signing. I think Mbeumo and Cunha, as much as I want a striker, I think, do you know what? I wouldn't mind just seeing how it goes with Xerxes. Because Xerxes, he's just vibes, isn't he, man? Like, do I see him scoring 35 goals ever? No. I don't. But, you know, I think I think that could be more interesting for us. There's some noise in my mic. I can't do anything about that live, unfortunately. Defence is a cesspit. Well, it's not though, is it? It really isn't. So your first choice defence, presuming everybody's fit, Yoro, Delict, Martinez. Damn good. Your second choice defence, I think Mazraoui as either the left or right side centre half, Maguire and Heaven. Fredrickson as an extra. It's not cesspit, is it? And that's presuming you lose the likes of Luke Shaw and that in there. Obviously Lindelof and that. Max says, I don't see Cunha even scoring 20. I mean, you say that like 20 is a low bar. If you said I don't see him scoring 5, that's a low bar. If you said I don't see him scoring 10, that's, you know, mid-range. But I don't see him even scoring 20. Do you know how hard scoring 20 goals is? Seamus says, I would love to see a post-Watershed version of Match of the Day. Theo says, Cunha is mid. No, he's not. Your fucking brain's mid. Go and slap your mum and dad. I think you get a post-Watershed version of Match of the Day on their podcast. They do a podcast together. It's good. It's a good podcast. It is genuinely, it's a good podcast. Where does Bruno play? I nowhere, naturally. And again, what you've also got with that front line, you've got quite a few different options and rotations that you've got in there. You're starting to build a little bit of depth now. Mason Mount be a backup. You presume Cobby would likely be a backup. Bruno can obviously play in one of those number 10 slots. I think Bruno's going to end up playing deeper, but can Bruno and Ugarte do it? They're not the biggest duo, are they? They're really not the biggest duo. Notch says that we must only sign Mbappe's brigade have started. Cunha's very good and we don't have PSG budget this summer. I don't even know if we've got fucking Brentford budget this summer. Roosba says, do I think considering the financial regulations, buying free world-class players in their senior years would be a good strategy to get out of this shithole? Yes, always. The transfer fees are a number one outlay. If you can get anyone for free, why would you not do that? Ian says Cheeto loaned back to Ipswich with McKenna. If Delap comes, that's not a bad shout. Harry says Steve mentioned Retegui a few years back. Yeah, when he was completely unknown and still playing in South America, and he did all right, didn't he? Daniel says, Cunha was 15 goals, 6 assists this season. We'd kill for that. We genuinely would kill for that. That might give you player of the year at United. Thomas Muller is free. Leave him be. We don't need another end of the road sort of player. Although, does he work in that? Nah, probably doesn't. He's a bit languid, isn't he? Braulio says, Kante single-handedly covering 30% of the world. Bruno Ugarte work rate should cover some ground. They absolutely cover work rate. They do, right? And I think that from a work rate point of view, they're good. I think from a positional point of view, Bruno's not quite got it to play in the 6. I think from a receiving the ball and driving through the middle of the pitch, neither of them sort of have it. You need a carrier, and neither of them kind of do that. And they're both a little bit small. They're just small people. Like, they come up against the midfield. Like, you come up against, like, a fucking Onana or someone like that in midfield, you're going to get fucking pummeled. And, you know, like, you mean the guy that played at weekend? Yes, I mean that guy that played at weekend. But we had Casemiro in midfield, and Casemiro was a fucking don in midfield. Because Casemiro's a big fucking unit. And there's no big units in our midfield. You actually do need some decent-sized dudes. Andrew says Angel Gomez on a free. I think we'd have heard more about that if it was happening. I presume he's going elsewhere. Jack says Angel Gomez not good enough. I entirely disagree, but that's fine. MK Dizzle saying, why are we not in for Jude Bellingham? We seem to be always linked with him, don't we? Quite frequently, actually. Seamus, in the simplest of terms, we need a Carrick and Keane style midfield duo. What's interesting is with the way the game's changed in such a big way is that football's always been about overloads. The reason that you see wingers and fullbacks overlapping was to overload. The reason why you saw strikers dropping back into midfield was to overload. Keane and Scholes, when they played as a midfield two, they didn't really play as a midfield two while Cantona was there. Didn't really see Scholes sort of being Paul Scholes at that sort of time. They did play together, but he wasn't really the Paul Scholes that we became to know. We would more likely play with 2 6s. It would be Ince, or it would sometimes be Nicky Butt and Roy Keane, and then Cantona would drop in and he might be the third wheel. When you think about 99, you did kind of play like a lopsided 3. Beckham would tuck in. Yes, he would advance into the wing area, and Gary Neville would overlap, but he kind of played as part of the 3, and his work rate covered all the ground. Giggs would push up and kind of be part of the forward line. York, would drop in between the lines and almost make a 3-man midfield at times. There hasn't really been many duos like a Keane and a Scholes. And when Carrick came, and it was, Michael Carrick, Owen Hargreaves, Paul Scholes as a 3, the blend of those 3 was great. But when you play 3-4-3, it doesn't really work like that. So you have to look at different archetypes of players altogether, which is why it's kind of hard for us to identify exactly what you need, because you can find 6s that can progress the ball and can play a little bit, but they're a little bit more languid. They need to have mad energy. You almost need like 2 number 8s that can carry the ball and dictate play like 6s. They're difficult players to identify. Gary says, we need athletes in midfield, no pace. Does Ugarte have a future at United? I think Ugarte has a future at United, yeah, I do. Jibak says, what's my take on the notion that our players throw managers under the bus? We've overhauled our squad. Ten Hag signed 16 new players during his time. How can this issue continue to persist? Is it real? There's elements of it that are real, for sure. However, it isn't just as simple as the players throw the manager under the bus. The players are just not fucking good enough, is the top and bottom line of it. We're not doing enough due diligence in terms of our recruitment, whether that's for personalities, character traits, or just raw ability and fit for the squad. You see us buying players from multiple positions. Like Sancho and Anthony was a shit show. We ended up having Sancho, Greenwood, and Anthony, and Alanga, all for the same position, and now we have none of them. It's fucking dumb. Like, there should be progression and planning. Obviously, you can't account for things that happen with Greenwood. There could be a case to be made that the Sancho situation was exacerbated by the fact that there was so much competition in his position. Or he was getting, people were getting favoured over others. Like, you can make that case. Whether it's true or not, I can't answer for you, but you can make that case. So, there should be better succession planning and better scouting of people. Darren says, Shaw needs to be sold this window, just injured too often. I mean, for me, it's like 5 windows too late, but I agree. Ryan says it's a cop-out excuse to cover for poor managers. When it's good, it's always the managers transform things, but when it's bad, the players have thrown the manager under the bus. It's neither. In reality, it's neither. Like, look at the success our managers have had pre and post Manchester United. What's the common denominator between those incredible managers that we've had? From Ole to Ten Hag was a fucking incredible manager, to Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho. David Moyes won a fucking European trophy with West Ham. You can't tell me that they're all horrendous managers, because they're not. But I feel like the recruitment and the way United have spent money is horrendous, absolutely. And I feel like the way the club has been managed has been horrendous. It's not necessarily by the managers. Ronaldo in the comments says Ugarte is a squad player. Right, he says only just about managed to start watching United content again, but is Amorim... How long until Amorim's under serious pressure? I want to get behind, but I've seen nothing. Yeah, you have to give the guy his fucking players, don't you? Desarmo says, Onana saves our midfield issues. Villa need dough. Mere and Aguisa, both free agents from Napoli, so there's no excuses for Ineos to not replace. It's doable. How many players leave? I'm thinking 12. I could not tell you, to be honest with you. Jack says, Lindelof, Anthony, Højlund, Dalot, Maguire, Ugarte, Bruno all need to go. Bruno needs to go. Gavin says, imagine Nani and Chicharito in the squad. Yeah, 2 players who were genuine squad players would be genuine best players in the team. Shaq says, I want Mateta now. Don't give a fuck what he costs. That chant must come to life. Commenter said, will I miss the Premier League despite how bad United were? All we have to watch now is Joe behind Asda. No, I won't miss the Premier League this season. I think it's been a shit season, to be honest. I think the quality overall has been fucking awful. I really do. Alex says, just had an agreement for Delap. Only Gyökeres makes me excited for a new 9. Mateta would. Daniel says, is Watkins an option? I'm surprised I haven't heard about him going anywhere. Yeah, I've not heard anything about that either, to be honest with you. Shakespeare says, fair play for Ruben having the balls to take over mid-season. He walked into a right mess few games into the next season with a solid window. The window's important, though. Recruitment is the number one thing that's going to happen. Have I given up on Højlund? Yeah. And Anthony? Yeah. I reckon both can come good, especially Højlund. What are you watching to believe that? Ryan says, Moyes, Ole and Rangnick being incredible managers is massively overrating them. They're average managers at best. Well, they're not average, are they? They're not average, because the average manager's League One level, innit? That's an average manager. I mean, and Ole literally had our best fucking finishes in the league with arguably what was the worst squad out of the ones him, Louis, and Jose had. And I think at the moment, Amorim's got by far the worst Manchester United squad I've ever fucking witnessed. What's the possibility we sign Mbeumo? Couldn't tell you, mate. Biker says Højlund will stay and be cover to the incoming striker. I think that's probably the one, yeah. Andrew says, culture is the killer, comes from the Glazers. I absolutely believe that the culture is the killer, yeah, for sure. What do I think about Osimhen? I have no idea. The financials are confusing on it, and I also don't know if he'd be interested in coming to United, but we can see. CTB says, can Delap play that double 10 role as well as a 9? No, I think he's more of a straight 9, to be honest. Brian says, I genuinely think that Cunha and Mbeumo and Delap coming in along with a full pre-season, 1 game a week, will be pushing for top 6 next season. I still think midfield needs fixing. I would be okay going into next season with the defence that we've got, providing that Martinez gets back fit. Otherwise, yeah, I think it's one of them, innit? Are we signing midfielders? Well, do you know as much as I do, mate? Shaq says, can't sell Howland now without making a loss on the books. They'll keep him for cover and maybe learn from a more experienced striker would be good for his development. How does Xerxes fit into Amarim's system? I think he can play in the 9, but I think he has to have runners in beyond. Otherwise, it's too easy to defend against. If everybody wants the ball to feet, someone has to go and offer an in behind option. Xerxes wants the ball to feet. He's not great at running in behind. I know we've seen him running behind, but it's not his game. If he's coming to feet and coming to link it up with the rest of the midfield, he can drag centre halves out of position. That's when those sort of inside 10s have to be alert, rotate, swap positions, run inside, run into the gap that he's just created, and then a nice little third man running up, back and through, where it's been linked with Xerxes back to, say, Bruno. Bruno spins one in for hopefully an Mbeumo or a Cunha, and United are in behind the defence. That is what I want to see from us. I'd love that. Daniel says 8 needed before another 10. Goalkeeper necessary too. Mia says culture is the overused word in context of United. I believe the environment in and around United that hampers our signed players. Yeah, that's called culture, mate. Realistically, who do I think United end up with in the summer? I think it depends on the sales. I think if we get sales, we'd be okay. But we need the sales. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. But cheers, as always, for tuning in, everyone. I hope you've all had a decent Monday and Tuesday. Me and Ronnie will be back later if you want to get more questions in. Doing an XG files. And also, actually, if you would like us to discuss or debate anything in particular, we'll do a pre-record where we just talk about that one topic in depth. So let me know. Put questions for XG in the... Don't put it in the chat because the chat disappears. Put it in the comments of this video. Questions for XG, and me and Ronnie will do a video that we'll release, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday, if you want us to answer something in depth and football related. Happy? Nice one. See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.